Boz Serrata. This will be okay. So frankincense fits into our theme of antidepressant, mood uplifting herbs, right? So we decided to go back to an essential oil, since we haven't covered a lot lately. And this is one of the best, most important. We have a lot of different varieties here and grades. We could really spend all class 2 hours talking about just this essential oil and all of its uses. So I'll let you guys kind of determine how nerdy we get with it or not. Okay. We have a lot of varieties. This is a great herbal medicine topic because it exposes like all the challenges of herbal medicine if you really want to go deep. We have countless species, right? Over 20 species. There's over 20 grades of frankincense resins. There's over countless types of variations. There's all kinds of botany differences, the way you buy it, the way it appears, the way it's sold. There's all these grades you can buy and purchase. Most people in America don't know much about some of that. So I don't know how much you want to geek out on. A lot of it you don't necessarily have to know as far as like an herbal medicine practitioner, because the essential oil that we're going to be using contains most the same properties across the board. It's just we're talking about aromatherapy kind of nuances, maybe some special healing nuances that vary a little bit, but for the most part, we're going to use them all the same. Okay. So we have a lot of varieties, over 20 varieties at least.
Species as a variety.
Species, yep. So this is, remember, the genus Boswellia, species Serrata. Okay. This is the one that grows most commonly in India. It's a lower grade. This is the one that's used a lot in Ayurvedic medicine. In Ayurvedic medicine, they don't call it frankincense, though. What do they call it when it's sold? This is how it's sold in America. It's just called Boswellia.
You're saying frankincense, this is the botanical name is Boswellia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it is also called Boswellia in Ayurvedic medicine. Okay. They don't call it frankincense. Don't know why. So it is a type of frankincense that grows in India. It's considered a lower grade.
Serrata.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The Serrata, I'm gonna. Oh, good job, Mountain Rose. I thought this was Serrata. Okay, never mind. It's usually a darker resin. Do you want to pass that plate around? I'll pass this around and explain these to you. So usually Boswellia serrata is a little more reddish, like how this is. Notice this reddish hue. This is what you would find from Ayurvedic suppliers. This is actually, I don't know what species this is actually, but I'm assuming it's serrata because it'll have a reddish tinge to it. Okay. We also have Boswellia sacra. This is one of the prized varieties. This is specific to the country of Oman. That will come into play later. From Oman, we get everybody debates about this, okay? Just so you know, all these varieties are debated about which one is the best. By the best here, we're really talking about when we're talking about what are we geeking out about with frankincense? Because all the physical healing properties are going to be pretty much the same for all of them. They're all wound healing and mood uplifting and anti-inflammatory and antifungal and heal sores and ulcers. But what we're geeking out about is like what kind of wild mind I don't want to say altering, but how much are they going to affect your consciousness? This is what we're paying for. Is it going to make you feel very meditative, very zoned out? Is it going to, this is why churches, right? Most of the churches of the world still burn frankincense, right? The Catholic Church, all the Orthodox churches still burn this. It's burned at all areas throughout the Middle East, right? It's just burned everywhere still. Um, the idea is that it clears negativity. It has an extreme positive peace invoking property. It clears your mind, it clears your thoughts, it clears your emotions. It's truly spiritually uplifting. That's what you're actually paying for if you want to geek out about it and if you want to pay for it. So this is actually kind of hard to get in America. This is
Serrata or
sacra.
The
This
sacra?
is to get a high grade of sacra is hard. High grade sacra, you'll notice it's greenish. So it's sometimes called greenish turquoise. It has a green hue to it. That is actually, this is like in the Bible and in biblical times. We know this is the exact one because the foot route is still used today. It's harvested by one person in Oman. It's a old tradition. They bring it up a foot trail that goes along Oman and the Red Sea into, the Holy Land, and it's still traded the exact same way today as it was back then. So this is the green variety that's very special. So even though you could have sacra, the species, we could have 100 variations of how good it is. And a lot of it never leaves Oman and places like that. Um, one of them I had that I lost was brought to me by somebody who was dating a, what do they call them? In Oman, you're not a king, but a prince of Oman. Somebody from Omaha I used to know was dating one of the princes of Oman who gifted her this frankincense for me. That was like, heavenly grade. I lost it. I don't know. I misplaced it somewhere. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. We also have Boswellia carteri, which is a really good variety also, mostly from Oman, Yemen, United Arab Emirates. Is that what it's called, right? UAE, Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan. Okay. So this is just, by the way, the sacred one is often called royal green.
Say that again, please.
Royal green.
Which one is?
The sacred
Oh,
one.
the sacra?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going back to putting up the carteret.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to get like a metal bowl or something we can just start lighting these up? We're diffusing frankincense essential oil right now. I'll pass it around. So what do you know from frankincense is it's unique because think of like, why would churches covet this? Why was, even in Greek times, every temple, this would be, when you see in older movies, the huge pots of things burning, it's frankincense resin. That's what's burning outside these places. It's not trees or, it's not like pine or cedar. It's frankincense resin is burning. So why is everyone throughout history, for 3,000 years, this has been traded like a hot commodity around the planet? So when you smell it, you can smell it's very uplifting, yet extremely grounding and calming. We'll use this. Okay. Fine.
Did you say calming?
Calming, grounding, very pure. So it has this unique in that it elevates, it lifts your soul or your spirit, or it lifts your mind to higher states of consciousness, but it's also very calming and grounding. The woodsy notes, like in essential oils, are very grounding. The citrusy, fragrant notes are very uplifting. So it has like both of those. So when you smell this, it smells woodsy and it smells very uplifting. Okay. Pass this around. So if you didn't know, these things are just, these are resins, right? We just burn these things. I don't know if people know this. So you can get like a little charcoal you would light on fire and burn. You just have to be careful once these things get going, they get going.
Where did it come from then? Like what kind of? It's a tree.
It's a tree, yeah. So boswellia is a tree and it's cut. They cut the sides, like make a little slit in the bark. And then just like the pine trees we'll see in long pine, it emits a resin to protect itself. And the resin is scraped and harvested and then it's dried. So we can burn it on a charcoal, but I'm just going to show you. This is flammable. This is a tree rat. This is how we make torches and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, once this sucker gets going, it's hard to stop. So I once had a whole huge chunk of these in my basement once. The first house I ever had, I was fumigating and it would not go out. And I like knocked it over and like my whole, luckily it was cement floor, just ignited on the fire. It took me a long time to get it out. So I'll pass this around. You'll smell it in just a little bit. This is like probably not the best variety.
You know how smell brings you back to memory?
Mm-hmm.
I was in Bethlehem going home to church and fair.
Oh, that's cool.
That is exactly the smell.
So to this day, allegedly only one or two people know the actual incense recipe of the Catholic Church is only known by a couple people, I guess. It's kind of a secret a little bit.
Was that on the bottom?
This one is Papyrifera, which is a whole other sacred one too, but this one's a little different. I don't like the way that one smells, actually. I'll burn a little bit of the red here. Give everybody some different smells here. I'm just gonna let that burn for a little bit here. We'll get some good smoke going. You can get a high from frankincense, like a natural high, like a very ecstatic, like, ooh.
Would you say the church, like, religious people would burn this so that their attendees kind of relax their mind or lift up their mind to receive whatever holy message?
Yeah,
Is that what you
it's
think?
to commune with the divine. It's to release the humanity in you and to commune with the divine. Put your mind into a sacred space so you can worship, right? Or be connected. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we could talk a lot about all these. A lot of people have a lot of different intense arguments. There's also what's called Ethiopian frankincense, and there's frankincense from all these areas and different species, and people debate about which one is best or not. But to me, the royal is truly like the royale. This is like the bomb.
The Royale.
Yeah,
What is that?
The sacred.
the sacred.
It's sacred? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there someplace that we can buy that?
You can buy them online, but you're probably not always guaranteed to get what you're never gonna know for sure. In general, the higher grade ones, you'll notice they're round. They have these rounded tiers. That's very distinctive of like higher grades. I'm gonna burn a little bit of this really, really amazing royal grain. So everybody feels it in your mind already. So I mean, it also, in spiritual traditions, this is supposed to drive away all negativity and negative influences also. Like a smudge, right? Every culture has a smudging type plant. That one I can smell already is so good. Okay. We should know, though, that frankincense is very ecologically endangered because it grows in very desertous areas. It's hard to get farms of it. So some of it is farmed, some of it's wild harvested, some of it's obviously poached by people that don't care, who injure the trees and kill them. This royal one, you can't see it, but it's just oozing. It's just oozing resins. I'm just gonna walk this down the middle. That is so good.
You're gonna marry it. Walk it down the aisle.
Mhm. Look at that resin that oozed out of it, though. That royal variety. That's really cool. I'll pass this around. You can see this like really high grade resin that came out of the royal one. Okay. So let's don't get too much more into species, okay? We can do a little bit of chemistry. So essential oil chemistry, ready? In a nutshell, we have limonene, which is some of the limey, citrusy type notes of this plant, which you can smell, right? This is where a lot of the immune properties come from in the antifungal. Okay. We also have pinene. So we also have pinene. This is some of the piney type notes, right? This is for all of the respiratory clearing effects, the lung effects. These are types of essential oils. Okay. We have limonene and pinene, and then we have borneol. Borneol, you don't notice in these higher grades as much because the borneol notes are going to be more menthol-y like minty menthol-like. That's where a lot of the blood flow enhancing, wound healing properties are found, the borneol compounds, and also the pain relieving compounds. We also have farnesol. This is all in your notes, by the way. Farnesol is an important one because this is like the anti-wrinkle property. Yeah, I mean, start thinking about that, right? So over 200 different compounds in a single drop of frankincense essential oil. Over 200 compounds and a single drop of the essential oil. Not a tincture of the plant. We're talking just the distilled essential oil has 200 compounds. So it's very, very complex, right? Farnesol is the anti-aging, anti-wrinkle effects.
You put it on your skin? Is that?
Yeah, definitely.
Farnesol, and then the other one is
Borneol.
Borneol. So the, sorry. The one that begins with an F is anti-wrinkle.
Yeah.
Farnesol.
Okay. I don't know which one has the most like spiritually uplifting. So there's so many uses for this thing, how we can even wrap our head around it. So clinically speaking, to me, you can break this down in a couple categories. Number one, this is like topically speaking, and also this is a resin, this is a gum, right? You can chew this like gum. This is chewed throughout the Middle East and India, and people just chew this like gum. It's going to coat and stain your teeth, but it's very protective. It's very healing to gum diseases. You know, frankincense is one of the greatest gum disease, abscess tooth remedies ever. It's easiest to use as a powder for that because you just take the powder, pack it right on the tooth. But in the Middle East, this is just chewed like gum a lot. So I'll pass these varieties around, a couple different varieties here. From really good to El Cheapo. This is still, though, I'm surprisingly, this is still Sacra variety. So very expensive for the royal green. Okay, so properties, we have extreme wound healing. By here, we're talking about cuts, bruises, trauma healing, any trauma to the body. We are talking about scars. We are talking about scar tissue. We are talking about pressure ulcers, varicose ulcers, pressure ulcers, any kind of an ulcerated wound. Topically. So typically, we're going to have to use this as a tincture topically or the diluted essential oil right onto an area. Very good for blisters, very good for sores, pressure. It's just quite amazing. It stimulates new skin growth also, but it's also very antiseptic. Kind of like the original Band-Aid, really. All the resins are like that, right? They have a coating, soothing property. So it's very antibacterial and very antifungal. So we're going to use this for any kind of a fungal skin infection, yeast infection, thrush, skin infection, swamp foot, trench foot, all of these yeasty, any kind of wound, wet or dry, it's really helpful for. Its energy is actually warming and uplifting, the energy of the plant itself. So we can take this internally, but usually we'll do it as a tincture or a capsule, not the essential oil. It's safer to still do the tincture or capsule or make a tea out of it. Makes a great tea too, by the way. Be surprisingly warm and uplifting. Okay. So for sorry, my notes for this are all over the place. I have so many. So for the skin, this is also good for any kind of hard to heal wound. Surgery scars, one of my all-time favorite things for just any wound that won't heal. I'm pretty sure if we spent some money doing a study on pressure ulcers in hospitals, this would be an amazing treatment because I've used it for pressure ulcers a lot. It's really, really helpful.
You just take the essential oil and then
Diluted, yeah.
with like distilled water.
Just
Or oil, probably.
you would do the oil or you would do a tincture of it because so it would have alcohol and be more sterile.
You'll make a tea out of this.
You can make a tea out of it. Yeah, you can drink it. It's great for gum infections and gingivitis. So dentally, we're going to use this for dental pain, toothaches, gingivitis, infected teeth, abscess teeth. You know, you have like an infected wisdom tooth that's causing problems and it's maybe you don't want to get it out or it's not ready to come out. This is what we're going to do for that. It does stain the teeth, so we have to be aware of that. It's not bad for them, it just stains them a little bit because it's a resin, right? This is also one of the main things we're going to do for any scar, any bruise, any kind of skin inflammation. We're also going to use this a lot in cancer treatments. This is one of our main things we do for radiation burns from cancer treatments, together with rose topically. Here we're talking mostly all topical. This is one of the main things we are going to use for directly on and around tumors for pain. We're also going to use this over any kind of cyst, lipoma, fatty cyst, fatty tumor, breast cyst, fibrocystic breast disease, any kind of cyst or growth anywhere on the body, topically. Boils, right? A lot of stuff, right? But especially for tumors, it has a lot of anti-cancer tumor properties that make it really helpful. It's also one of our main lymphatic herbs. So we use it anytime there's lymph swelling, lymphedema, swollen lymph vessels, congested lymph vessels. This is something we're going to do. That's a lot of uses already, right? Yeah. Okay. I know a lot of companies get super serious. You can spend a lot of money on frankincense essential oil, right? You can spend a lot of money depending on the company and the grade, and you can get really geeky varieties if you really order from like extreme companies. But for like our use as like just basic herbal medicine and aromatherapy with patients, you don't really have to worry about too much of that. As long as it is a reliable company that has pure frankincense, you're good to go. We're going to be using it for. This is just Oracacia, which is always one of the most affordable kind of entry level varieties that still does a lot of quality testing. If you smell higher grades, you'll notice a fragrance difference that you're paying for. But as far as like putting it on your body and healing it, it's going to work the same. So
Are these all sacred?
those are all sacra. Yeah. So even within each species, there's actually maybe 20 different grades. It's like when you buy ginseng, okay, you have American ginseng, but then you have, is it wild? Is it farmed? Is it semi-wild? Is it shade grown? And then you have like, how old is it? And then they're graded, and it's just really geeky. Most people that even sell it probably don't know that much about most of that. So I will drop some links in Thinkific on frankincense markets in Oman. It's really cool videos of some people going to the frankincense and seeing like huge bags like this of every variety and talking about them. It's very cool. Yeah, it would be a great road trip. Okay, so emotionally, internally, or topically, this is going to be one of the most mood uplifting, mood altering things, especially when people feel just very negative, when you feel like you're around negativity, attacked by negativity, surrounded by negativity. You know, you can burn this or diffuse it. It's probably safer to diffuse it than burn the resin in today's world. You can just keep it around. I always have this by my office and everywhere, just some chunks of it. I always feel a little safer, right? So you can take this internally, or you can just diffuse the essential oil to have some of these effects on the mood uplifting part. Okay. Topically and internally, it's also one of our best joint arthritis, joint pain remedies. All types of arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, which is autoimmune, regular arthritis, knee pain, ankle pain, foot pain, everything. Cold, what we call cold arthritis, hot arthritis, it kind of works for all types of arthritis. So that we can massage it topically in the joints, or we can take it internally. Harder to find frankincense capsules. Myrrh capsules we'll talk about later. You can find that easily. Frankincense is a little harder to find. Okay. Let's see. Truly for scar tissue, it's very phenomenal. I know we've talked about a lot of things for scar tissue, but it is one of the best. Digestive system, we're going to use this for any kind of inflammation in the digestive tract, any kind of ulcers, intestinal ulcers. Here we're talking about inflammation. It's also good for diarrhea, especially if it's like a traveler's diarrhea from bacteria. That does kill parasites also. So myrrh and frankincense are approved in some Middle Eastern countries as a supplement for treating parasite infections of certain kinds.
Do you think the tea would be sufficient?
Tea is probably the safest way to take this, or a tincture. I wish we could get a capsule of it, but I have yet to find one.
So if we were to access the resin, if I'm gonna make this tea, how I would probably do it would get my pestle and mortar out, crush it, then put it in my tea.
For this one, we would, with resins, typically we don't crush them. We just pour hot water over it.
That's enough to get the.
And then you're gonna do, we did a cold infusion one time that was rock star. We poured hot water over it and then just let it sit overnight in the refrigerator to do a cold infusion, and that really worked well. So it was intense. It's very intense. So this frankincense, I mean, I think by the pound for this is probably like $6 for certified organically grown frankincense. You know, this stuff, I mean, this is like, you know, up to thousands of dollars a pound at least. So yeah, those little bags going around are like about, I don't know, more than $100 each for those little things.
I paid for essential oils, I paid up to $200. For
Yeah.
a little bottle.
For that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we also use this just for a weak immune system, cancer support in general. This is really helpful for. I feel like there's a lot more uses than that.
System ulcers, what is this to take, like tincture or?
You can do tincture or tea. That's about all we have available to us in America. So it's a little bit antiviral. So we can use it for colds and flus and COVID. It is antibacterial, especially on the skin. I especially use it a lot for said wounds that won't heal and antibiotic resistant bacterial infections. What we call MRSA, right? Yeah.
You said it's also antibiotic.
Somewhat. This is also just for meditation. This is probably one of the best meditation enhancing plants that there is. It's just wonderful for meditation. It's wonderful for kids, like to spritz their rooms with it, because they genuinely, everybody seems to like the smell of frankincense. Some cultures say it attracts, like, you know, different cultures would call them different things, like angels or angelic beings. It attracts like positive things to you, and when they're burned and they show up. A lot of research for cancer. That's one of the main research areas for it lately. One of my secret tips is that frankincense clears all stagnation from the hips down, where myrrh clears all stagnation from the hips up. So myrrh, we'll see later, we're going to use for like blockages of your arteries, blockages of your carotid arteries. You have calcium deposits in your blood vessels. In your upper body, we do more myrrh for that, where frankincense is better for the lower body.
In regards to atherosclerosis as well in the lower legs.
I don't know so much about that with frankincense. Myrrh still helps the lower leg, but it especially targets the upper body.
With the stagnation, is this like blood stagnation where we're
All stagnation. So in Chinese medicine, Frankincense resolves all types of stagnation: hot, cold, blood, damp, phlegm, and wind, and also hot, cold, blood, chi or energy stagnation, phlegm, which would be like a tumor, dampness, and wind. It clears all stagnation from the body. That's why it's so magical, topically especially. So this shows up in like every Chinese liniment ever made, almost to some degree. So I need to put that in my notes too. It's also a conductor to the heart. If you ever want to have like a secret conductor in the formula or a topical formula, like you're doing aromatherapy formula and you want something that really opens the heart, this is good for that. So it really opens the third eye, the crown, and the heart chakra. Questions?
What action category is it in? Sounds like a lot.
A whole bunch. It's in the wound healing, or what we call vulnerary, right? It's in the antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. It's also a lymphatic, a mood uplifting. It's a nervine, very anti-inflammatory, quite a few categories. Damp, chi, blood, phlegm. Forgot to mention that. Okay. Okay. Questions on it? What's your experience with the I mean, I would burn the resin on a burner, but it's gonna you buy these little charcoals like this and you light them, they get hot and you throw the resin on there, but it really smokes an area, it fumigates an area. So it might be too much for some people. So yeah,
I know
Yeah.
it is very meditative. Yeah.
like how you said certain functions have different densities for somebody. I know from experience that Middle Eastern, we would take the charcoal, like you said, and I remember a lot more myrrh getting burned in the house. But I'm sure that was pretty,
Sure.
it was
Yeah.
pretty common.
Yeah.
in somebody's house.
And somebody, I mean, might not know the difference between, they look kind of similar. Myrrh is more reddish, but I mean, you might not be able to tell sometimes. So, I have on my notes here too. So for opening the spirit, clearing all negativity, slowing the breath, helping to connect with what is unknown or unseen mentally, like you're trying to understand something about your life or life situation or health problem or insight into your younger daughter or something like that. Released past links in the subconscious. So this plant is unique historically. It's used to do a lot of subconscious and conscious work. We're tapping in and releasing old traumas, memories. So this is, I did forget to mention, this is one of our main PTSD remedies. I'm sure Asclepius people had this in their protocol. I mean, just guarantee they use this somehow in their secret things they did to heal people. Okay. So we can also use this for trauma, emotionally. Trauma to the heart, right? So we can always anoint people with it, right? Or how do we anoint people with essential oils? What do we do? What's that?
Spray them when they walk
We
in.
can spray them. That's a good one. Just we could put it on their PowerPoints in their palm, right? We can put it on the point on the bottom of the feet. That's a very traditional way to like ground someone and anoint someone. We can put it like on the third eye or the temple. And we can also put it on what are, I think Gary Young always said, the horns of the body, like the spot where like
Horns come out.
right here. Put it on the sides of the head. You can put it on the top of the crown. Probably though the best place other than right here and the third eye is right on your breastbone. It's a really good spot for this. Ooh, still feel really heady from it.
Oh,
You just feel like you can just really in your mind. Very, very deep plant. Okay. A lot of other uses, also used for infected eyes and sore eyes as a rinse. You wouldn't want to put the essential oil in your eye, but here we'd make a tea from the resin and kind of rinse the eye. So in the old days, how they would use this is they would just take a cloth gauze, like a, what you'd wrap a wound in, just soak it in the tea and put it right on the area. So it's like one of the most practical ways to use this.
good way to get it inside.
Mhm.
Is it the guy?
Probably helpful for pink eye too, yeah. This is gonna be just also something we do when we want to really connect with positivity. Like this is like a thing I'll use a lot, like if I'm gonna brainstorm life or plan something or meditate. Like it's just really good to clear the mind. It works so darn fast too. It's just good.
We want.
If you do deep breathing too, you can do deep breathing with essential oil, like just one round. It doesn't take much, but you just like do the hyperventilating and things or the slow box breathing with it. Okay.
Another trick.
Can
I'll-
anybody be allergic or?
I've never seen anybody allergic to it, but it's always possible to be allergic to anything for sure. That is always possible.
Well, but I mean like the essential oil or something.
Absolutely.
But you could be allergic to the tree or something. Yeah, you could be.
I only know one person that has not liked Frankincense. No.
Want to burn this on. What's that? Pets, I don't know much about animals. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, when you use
Yeah.
essential animal with animals, cats,
No.
they just don't. They need to be able to get out of a room. You can ask your pet what they want. If they're sniffing on a bottle, they probably want it. I have one dog I put away down, she had cancer, but I really think we probably prolonged her life because I sleep with frankincense and lavender at night. And diffusing. I have another dog that has his stomach liners not attached to his stomach. Why I get these pets, I don't know. So I kept a diffuser in a spot in my old house, and I just thought it was where he laid. And when I would diffuse or stomach stuff, he would lay there, so I attached it and moved the diffuser across the room, and he moved with the diffuser. So when I diffuse it, but yes, those are two ways to do, but they need to be able to get out of the room, so don't ever close a door and diffuse.
So if you need to ask somebody, like you can always ask Dr. Jen at Five Elements. She's like an essential oil animal expert. You can call their office and they'll tell you.
What places?
Five Elements. She's like a natural vet here in town. She's written actually textbook on it. She's really good. She knows, I don't know anything about animals personally.
What's her name?
Dr. Jen Hebel at Five
Jen, is it
Elements.
Jen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Ready? Ready to go? Okay. Good with frankincense? Other questions or possibilities? as every time you talk about something, like I should have this in every
know.
tincture, liniment, just thinking like, always get reminded when you teach about everything. So, okay.